I want you to understand this before you can compete in Google search. This is the moment of enlightenment that we had way back. And if I showed you Google Search Console, the impressions, the traffic position, and all of it, you would see the moment in the chart where we found out about it. It's that important. Before we go into any of it, as always, there is something to learn, and that is, let me read it, normalized discounted cumulative gain, okay? Or NDCG, thank you. But sorry, I can't remember it. I know what it is, I just can't remember it, okay? Normalized, I forgot about it. NDCG, right. What it is, it's basically a yardstick that you use, or actually Google uses, to measure the quality of the search results, okay? In other words, search engines use that metric to show you the most relevant data results to your query. For example, if you type in something vague like president, what do you mean? Even if we look at my example, we market a lot for web design as an agency. In Google, people will type in website company. What does it even mean? Or when they type in web design, do they mean web development? Or when they type web development, do they actually mean web design? There is vagueness, there's ambiguity about those search queries, and Google has to use everything at their disposal, all the data that I have on the searcher, on the global trends, any kind of data I have to show you the most helpful websites so that you can find the answer to the question that you have. And this is very tricky. How do you put numbers to it? Oh man, I will link in the description of this video, and I highly recommend you click it just for the fun of it. Take a look at the equation that they use to come up with the number, with the relevancy score, we can call it, I guess. It's mind-blowing. It's just crazy stuff. So NDCG is legit, it's real, and I want to dig a little bit more into it without being too boring or too nerdy. So if you want to rank in Google search and compete with other pages, you have to understand one thing, which is NDCG, but mostly two sides to it. And they probably have many faces, but two sides that are important. First one is machine learning. The machine, or AI, which is the buzzword, learns all the time what people search for, what do they click based on that search, and it just keeps monitoring the web traffic and it adjusts the weights that it assigns to particular results so that it can prioritize someone else's website over yours, which is not ideal, but hey, this is the world we live in. But also, machine learning needs to understand what is your website about. So when they visit the website, yourwebsite.com, that bot, that crawler, it needs to understand, what do you actually mean? What's the purpose of this page? What questions does it have answers to? Who can that crawler show that page to so that they find it helpful? These are tough questions for a machine. They need to figure it out based on all the algorithms that they have at their disposal. Just think about it for a second. It's a robotic thing, okay? Artificial intelligence, machine learning script that needs to digest what you have written down in a way that it conveys what you actually mean. And that's where the problem is. I think often we write something and it gets misinterpreted, or it doesn't seem that much valuable to the bot, to the crawler, than any other page that they have crawled on the similar subject. And that's how they make up the ranking. And if you speak to any SEO specialist, they will tell you about the other factor in it all, that is crawling budget. Yes, machine learning, it costs resources, as in the energy, the time, the storage for that data, and everything around it. But one thing is sure, that bots don't go to sleep. They work 24/7, but they only can work with so many simultaneous connections at any given time. They have this budget, this time window in which they load your page before they move on to another one. Otherwise, I mean, they literally have to go through billions of websites, pages, links, and like, can you imagine the network of today's internet? Is just unbelievable. And these bots have to make sense out of it. they time limit each session. They create this kind of budget sockets and assign it to websites or the pages that they crawl before they move on. So what is your role in all of it? Your role is to give the bot what they need within that time frame. Otherwise, they might just not get it and therefore rank you very low in Google. With that said, we have two things to cover in today's video. That was a nice intro. I hope it made sense. I'm freestyling that stuff, okay? So any questions, anything that's unclear, drop me a comment. But basically, two things you need to keep in mind now. Relevance, which is on top of that NDCG, I can't remember the full name, and authority. These two things you do have in control, whether you think otherwise or not. Let's have a look at the first one. Relevance. Your content needs to be relevant to the query that user has put in front of the search engine. And the way you go about it is probably by, first of all, making sure that readability score is high on your website. It means that your website can be easily understood by a fourth or fifth grader and therefore a bot as well. I mean, these bots they're clever, but let's not give them too much credit, okay? So there's that. You need to make sure that in order for your content to be relevant and well understood by the bot, you need to keep the readability score high as possible, so they don't have to spend much of their crawling budget on understanding what you actually mean. They would just get it and then spend the rest of that crawling budget on associated assets or any other extra links, resources to make the sense out of that context. So that's the first one, readability. Second is structure of that content. It's extremely important that it has some kind of logical pattern to it. The content itself, the blog post, the page, the like whatever it is, any section of your website, any part of it needs to have some kind of structure, some kind of layout that shows the hierarchy, that shows the weight to headings, to paragraphs, that clearly indicates what's a side note, what's not, just generic overview of what a structure means in that case. When we say readability, structure, and relevancy, you can't not mention keyword focus. I know keywords are a bit of pastime. Google stated they don't even use keywords anymore, but if you orientate your landing page, your page, anything on a single keyword, don't worry about, synonyms. Google gets synonyms. It's fine. But if you have this one focus and you write all about it in a comprehensive manner, Google will really appreciate it. Trust me. We tried in a couple of our articles, and this is golden. So if you have focus, it means you have purpose. And if you have purpose, Google loves it. And that way you make the content win. Speaking of relevance, of being understood, and all the crawling budget that I mentioned so far, there's one final thing that's extremely important. And this is probably one of the most important things that I've mentioned so far. That is format of that content. You see, for the bot, it's still much more expensive in a resource sense to interpret what's in an audio file, what's in a video file, and what's in some kind of image, right? Photography. They much rather take a look at text than any other type of asset because it's cheaper. Again, resource-wise, it's cheaper to just read text, interpret what's in it, make sense out of it, move on. So if you have a page that's text heavy and you just sprinkle around with assisting, images and maybe some kind of helpful short from YouTube, from us, for example, then that's great. It helps the bot make sense out of that article. However, if the short or the YouTube video is the core of that article without any transcript of just a little bit of excerpt, it's not that great because the bot won't bother understanding it. Well, granted that, they've already spent so much budget on your website, they will simply ignore it and just forget about it, which is not good for you because you want that content out there so that people can enjoy it. So put a little bit more effort and write content in the format of text so that it's digestible by the bot. And then also, users will appreciate it. Not all of us can watch YouTube video on the spot. Maybe we'd rather read instead. So why not give that option? just to sum up, I know it's an overload of information. So if you want to maximize the usage of crawling budget, you have to be as relevant to the query as possible. And you do it by sticking to some kind of keyword. You keep the structure nice and healthy. You also keep the format in the text format. Finally, you make sure that the readability score is as high as possible so everyone can understand it. Second one, I promised, is authority. Authority is something that really distinguishes your website from someone else's. At this point, you know that Google interpreted your website well, your content, they know what you're on about, but they don't know if they can trust you. And that's the thing. So if someone has more credibility in Google search results, they will show above you. Even though you might have the best content in the world, if it's not trustworthy, it goes. Naturally, you'll ask the question how you build authority. So you build authority by creating content. Okay, now we're running in circles a bit, but the more content you create on a single subject, the more authority you build in Google's eyes. You show the same problem from different perspectives. Maybe you invite some kind of quotes from the outside world, your clients, or any kind of, maybe some kind of journalists, etc. You build that, we call it clusters, around particular subject, and you try to be as comprehensive as possible. Here's an example. We weren't ranking very well for agile development. We are an agile agency, so we wanted to be high up in Google for agile web development, agile web design, whatever that means. It's not a thing, but people search for it. Hey, who am I to say no? So what we did, we literally wrote for entire quarter of a year only about agile. So if you go to our blog right now, you'll see post by post about agile user stories, agile rituals, agile estimation, agile technical debt, like everything agile, we wrote about it. And guess what? Pew! We skyrocketed in Google. That's what happened. Same goes for web design. I mean, web design keyword is so competitive. Oh my God, it's crazy. It can cost anything between 50 to 100 pounds for a click in PPC here in London. So what a poor man like me is to do? Well, we created web design zone, and that's available in our current website navigation. And web design zone is orientated around popular queries, popular questions. What's the difference between web design and web development? Foundations of web design, popular trends in web design. Everything web design is there. And what it means is that Google will take a look and like,
oh my God, these guys, wow, they know the shit.
As a result, they bumped us up in search results as well. Not to the extent that agile development did, but it's to be expected because, again, this is very competitive keyword. But the content itself is hard to find if it's scattered across hundreds of pages that most websites nowadays have. So what you have to do is have to interlink them, link them together. Basically, just if you read an article and see a phrase, a keyword, maybe an entire sentence even, that's relevant to some other kind of piece of information on your website, link to it. Create that spider web of information, link them together, don't shy away. Just quick note, linking to one page from multiple sentences, places, it doesn't hold any value. It's enough if you link to a page from a single place. That's enough. Okay, so you don't have to really go full on it. Take it easy, Tiger. But you just find those missing pieces of information that people might find useful, that help bots make more sense out of what they're seeing by creating this huge landscape of information around singular topic, and they really appreciate it. It builds that authority in their eyes and really helps. So remember, cluster is one thing, but second thing is to link it all together in a way that makes sense. We're not done. If you want authority, you have to ask people for reviews. In a way, don't worry. I'm not asking you to go out and ask people to write you 5 stars about blog articles. That's ridiculous. What is it? What I'm saying really is you have to earn those backlinks. And if you don't know what a backlink is effectively a link from someone else's website to yours as a source of a credible information. So if you have a journalist writing an article, or some kind of other company writing a piece of content on something that you know about, write about it and ask them to link back to your website, and that earns trust for Google's needs, for Google's data, and that relevancy score and all of that. So the more backlinks you have, the more other websites trust your website as the source of information on the particular subject, the better. This is really good. Trust me, it's fantastic. The way we go about it is we use platforms where journalists announce requests for quotes from experts. So for example, Harrow is a great example. There are other platforms where people search for guests for their podcasts or radio interviews or just generic blog post articles. You just go up there, you sign up, you show a will to help, and if you are the expert they're looking for, they'll ping you a message, invite you over, quote you in the article that they are writing, and link back to your website, and that's how it goes. So it's really great. It's fantastic. So apart from creating those clusters of content, interlinking everything together into a nice web of information, earning those backlinks is another step that is absolute a must. Finally, it takes time. That's my final word on this one. Being an authority on something, being that thought leader, it takes time. No one earned that status by just shouting out about it. You have to prove yourself, and online, not only content tells the whole story, but also, things like domain age. There are other rankings like domain ratings or rankings. There's many factors that go into building that authority up. So don't give up. Keep your head up. Keep writing in a way that's useful to people, in a way that's easy and digestible. Keep it concise. Keep it around the subject. Link to resources, link to other pages on your website. Keep those backlinks coming and you'll be golden. You'll be fine, trust me. And if you have any doubts about it, ping me a message and I will try to help you as much as I can, because we've been through that. So I can speak from experience. Before I go, wait. Before I go, I need to mention one extra thing, and that is technical performance. If Googlebot can't load the website, no matter how good it is, it won't know anything about it. Just make sure, double check, confirm with your developer, or ask us, or use some kind of tools that are available like GTmetrix, for example, to simply take a look at the health of your website. Does it load quickly enough? Is it lightweight enough? Does it load on mobiles? Is it just usable? Is it friendly? Is it accessible? Just keep it reasonable. If someone can't see the content, there's high chance the bot won't either. Then how do they know what it's about, and how do they know how relevant it is, or what authority you have for the search query that they're hoping to fulfill? Just final note on that one. I'm not going to go into this, but this is heavy. Technical SEO is real, is legit. It takes effort, but on the basic level at glance, just make sure it's okay. So hopefully this was helpful. I know this was this was one of the longest videos that we did, but I think it's extremely important to understand how search engines serve the web, how they make sense out of it. And if you're interested more in learning how they see the internet, I have more content coming on that topic. If you're interested, give me a note in the comments. Leave a like. Let me know if you want to know more about the history of the information, how we used to pass that knowledge from generation to generation, how now bots, for example, use Wikipedia as a template to understanding what's going on, all the data. We have all that information with us. We actually posted about it in our newsletter a while ago, but I'm happy to put that out as a YouTube video. So if you're interested, you know where to find me. Let me know if that's something that you like. But for now, I'll leave you to your own devices. Good luck with search engine ranking, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.